Wow. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I know, It's fun because I'm just, like it's lunch break in a moment, and you guys probably are hungry. So let's try it again. I know you guys have loads of coffee. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, better now, better. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about my adventures with progressive web apps and Firebase. And I think it's a really nice topic to be here and to be able to talk with you about this. Actually, this talk is the only one mentioning Firebase. So I think it's going to be nice for you to be aware of what you can do with Firebase. OK. So this is my Twitter handle and also my Instagram. So if you have any questions, and we can answer here after my talk, I can answer online, and you just need to send me a direct message. It's open. So, and also, this is my Gmail. You can send me an email if you want, to talk more about cool stuff. All right, so I'm born in Brazil, and I'm currently living in Dublin. And I am a senior developer for ERS. And it's been a journey. I mean, I've been traveling around the world, helping communities, and trying to share a little bit of knowledge and also exchange knowledge. I think it's really important for us as a community to always try to teach and learn, even in local meetups. Share your experience or what are you doing. It's really, really nice. And as you can see, it's a pleasure to me, and also I'm passionate about traveling, so that's me, right? And that's my first time in Nantes, a lovely city and really welcoming. So thank you very much for inviting me here, the organizers, and it's going to be nice. All right, so my background is in JavaScript development, right? And then I was applying for this ERS opening position. And the manager was saying, hey, we work with Microsoft.NET, C#. And I was like, ooh, OK. All right, but I'm going to work with Angular, right? Like JavaScript, right? Like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like web technology, this kind of stuff that I know, right? Not C# and building APIs. No. So yeah, it's been interesting for me working with .NET and C#, because now I have the whole picture of a feature. So I need to build the API, and also I need to build the client side. So it's been nice. I still need to, work a little bit more on my C# skills, but it's been great. But we have our lives like in the busy style. Like we are always doing loads of stuff. We need to do this. We need to do that. And sometimes it's just not possible to accomplish what we need to accomplish, because we are too busy, and sometimes we just forget what we need to do, right? And we have different aspects of our lives to deal with, like our personal life, our professional life, our community life. So, and that's why I'm really, really passionate about to-dos apps. And it's quite funny, because if you go online and you search for tutorials related to any kind of thing, it's only two things, like chats or to-do lists, right? But in fact, you can be much more productive with to-do lists and to-do apps, because you can organize yourself. And to me, Google Keep was like my first choice, and I had everything that I needed, like to-dos, labels, share with friends and family, and it's great, right? But now we have also this option called Google Tasks, And in fact, they have this integration with other products. So I was using, for example, building my presentation. And everything's integrated. All right, and after Google Keep and Google Tasks, I was looking for other options, and I think it's a little bit like, because I'm working with Microsoft platform and everything, probably I found like Microsoft to do, and I was like, wow, that's interesting, that's really nice. And they have also material design. So the app is beautiful, works like a charm, and they have also a kind of intelligence behind it that is going to like suggest you what you need to do. So for example, if you forgot to do something yesterday, it's going to pop up and say, hey, you need to do it. So it was like probably at the beginning of this year, and I was like, okay, I want to build something nice, and I want to give back to our community, you know. And of course, everything starts with an idea and like a planning thing, on a planning phase. And I was like, okay, what can I do? I want to do something different. And I was like, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to do it like a Notes app. Brilliant, right? Genius. I was like, oh, come on. But I wanted to do something different, like that that developers could see like different aspects of a progressive web app. So I was like, okay, but I don't want to do this alone. And I was talking with my friend Chris, and we decided to create this full stack Firebase. And then we were, you know, planning and doing stuff, and it was loads of funny time. But I couldn't keep up with Chris, so he could deliver the training and the app. So we have this fire list that we called. And in fact, I have some coupons that you can sign up for free, the course on Udemy. So I don't know, maybe I'm going to check the Twitter later. So if you tweet about like Firebase and my talk or something that you like it, and you like tag me or tag the hashtag of the conference, I'll look into it and I'll send you a private message with the coupon so you can learn Firebase and React this weekend. I don't think you have any plans, right? So yeah, we also have this How to Firebase organization on GitHub, and we have everything there. So our idea is to have everything open source, so you can go there and see and, you know, play around. So we have the full documentation that Chris created. Full stack Firebase is over there. Firelist React is the entire app combining React and Firebase. And Firelist Angular is the app that I'm developing and creating new things there. So also is there with like everything, the pull requests, and you can see, you can have a little bit of, okay, how I did it. So, starting the project. And it's really nice because the version 7 of Angular was just launched yesterday. And if you were here during the Wasim talk, he mentioned it. And we have loads of cool stuff, virtual scrolling, drag and drop, CLI prompts, loads of things, Angular material. It's really, really nice to see this version come alive, and you can check in more details later on the Angular blog. So, well, we are talking about Angular, right? And one of the powerful tools that we have related to Angular is the Angular CLI. So you can install the Angular CLI just with this npm command. And if you are like very adventurous, you can attach the add next to the end, and you're going to have the next version of the Angular CLI, and you can try and you can provide feedback. It's really interesting to have also community feedback in terms of tools like that. Also, the Angular console. So if you are not, if the terminal is not your best friend, it should be. You can use Angular console. So they have everything that the Angular CLI does, but in a visual interface that you can go there, just download the app, and you can start right away. It's really easy, and it's really nice to use as well. So they have the first stable release. It's pretty nice, and they support Windows, Mac, and Linux. So instead of the terminal, as I told you, you can just go there, create a new Angular workspace, and the tool is going to do everything for you. And after that, you can just play around and create new things and add new things. It's really, really interesting. So after that, of course, we need to create a new Angular app. And it's just simple, just ng new Fireless Angular, and it's going to create a new app with everything that we need. And also, they have now this feature that you are going to see, like some questions that's going to help you to define your Angular application. And one thing that I really like about Angular is that by default, tests are in place. How many of you are using testing on your projects? Or come on, really? Okay. All right, let's talk about tests. All right, so we have like different possibilities in terms of tests or apps, right? So unit testing is really important for you to make sure that your feature is like delivering what it's supposed to deliver, right? And that's what I really like about this spec.ts inside of the Angular components. You just use Karma and Jasmine. So it's really simple. And I think like most of developers, they are afraid of unit testing just because like they think it's something really, hard and difficult. But when you start to do it, it's not. And with Angular, it's also really interesting how you can just start in a simple way, and they provide loads of things with the Angular core testing. So definitely you should do it. And also, we have end-to-end tests. And it's more related to your UI, the UI of your application, the UI of your product. And end-to-end is also important because we have tools that they are going to launch your web app or progressive web app and start testing. And it's quite interesting because if you think about it, when you are developing your web app, how many times did you like, oh no, I need to test this, and then you go there and you click again, and you type and submit the form and see if everything is correct. So instead of doing this manually, you can just rely on the tools to do this for you, and it's really, really interesting. And one of the best apps that I know, like now, in terms of end-to-end testing, it's Cypress. Cypress.io, you can see, and they have like tutorials, video tutorials. Documentation is really interesting. And you can do loads of things with Cypress.io. And it's really simple, and you also have the native apps. So after that, it's just something that I really like to do. I create like a different host for the apps that I'm working on, because like localhost every time is not that good. And then when we just use localhost, for example, the fave icon is always the same. Or otherwise, you need to clear the cache and everything. So with this approach, it's really interesting because you can give your product or your project that you are working on a meaningful URL that you are using, that you're going to use. And for me, like I'm using firelist.angular, and you can use whatever you want. And of course, you need to change the etc hosts to be able to do it. Just go there, and right beside the local host, you can create a new one. And when you like npm run start, you're gonna just see, you're gonna be able to use firelist.angular with the port like 4001. And if you are using Firebase, you need to add a authorized domain. It's just simple, just go to the authentication and this section and add that host that you just created. So after that, you're going to use the local host or the firelist.angular, depends on what you're doing. Sometimes local host is the easiest way because there's no that many restrictions that we have with other hosts. So maybe you can stick with localhost if you want. And then, once again, you have everything, like the whole progress. And as you can see, I started with the Angular 5, and I have a list of the things that I did, all files that was changed, and a screenshot of the progress. So it's also meant to learn, you know. So you go there, and if you follow along the pull requests, you're gonna learn step by step. Otherwise, I was supposed to create a training with this, but you know, maybe with Angular 7 now, with Angular version 7 actually. So, and then in terms of documentation, as you can see, you can also use next.angular.io to be aware of the documentation that's coming up. And that's a great way to plan your app for an upgrade. So just a recap, remember to use tools. It's really important for task automation. Be curious. Curiosity is indispensable, guys, I can tell you. And learn how to customize app settings, and please read documentation, right? Some resource for you later. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about progressive web apps. And to add progressive web apps capabilities with Angular CLI, it's just simple like that. You just need to go and neg add Angular PWA. And with this in place, you're going to have everything that you need just created by the tool, the CLI tool. Of course, don't forget to change the assets and tweak a little bit the files that they were created. So if you want to extend a little bit what you can do with Angular CLI, you can go with schematics. And of course, Angular has a whole documentation about service worker and the progressive web apps. And here we have just a glimpse of the files that are in place after you run that command. So negs wconfig is just what you're going to use to configure your service worker. And the manifest JSON is what you need in terms of icons, background color, theme color, and other things to just show your progressive web app in a better way when running in a browser that supports it. So you can, of course, go to the web app manifest to check a little bit more what you can do. And after that, you just need to build the app, enter in this folder, and test your application. And it's really interesting that, once again, the Angular CLI is going to do everything for you, and compile, and uglify, and all those things. And you can test with the HTTP server if you have, or if you don't have, you just need to install it. And use also dev tools. Chrome, Firefox, and other browsers, they have dev tools that you can use. And in this case, Chrome, they have like the service workers, and you can test and play around with the service worker functionality. Once again, the PWA capabilities inside of Angular CLI, they're really strong. you can tweak a little bit the files that was generated and test with the prod flag. A little bit more of resource that you can learn later. And then, when I decided to create this progressive web app, of course, I needed a little bit more of like UI, you know, and I'm not a designer, so I needed something to, you know, because I'm not sure if it's only me, but when you see something beautiful that you are creating, you keep like excited, you know, like wow. And that's why I think like Bootstrap is really famous, because we were doing like our products or projects with like HTML, and it was horrible. And then we just added Bootstrap, and it was beautiful. So with mature design, we also have loads of functionalities and components that we can use. And of course, we have Angular material. And we have components that the components are going to help you to create a better progressive web app. Cards, we have form controls, progress spinners, pop-ups, snackpot, and much more. And with the Angular version 7, we have 2 new common behaviors, that is like the drag and drop and scrolling. And I can't wait to include these functionalities inside of the app that I'm developing. So to set up Angular material, you can start with the npm install, just like that. And you need to configure a lot of things related to this, but you can use neg add. And with neg add at Angular/material, the Angular CLI is going to do everything that you need. So we have some questions here in terms of template, in terms of you need to use Hammer.js. And as you can see, it's updated like all these files that previously you needed to update manually. So that's a lifesaver, right? Oh, time saver. And this is available with DevKit 6+. And Hammer.js is really interesting. So if you need to enable gestures on your web app, definitely go with Hammer.js. And the integration with Angular is brilliant. And then one thing that I like to do is create a material module that I can just include the components from Angular material that I need. So after that, it's just include all that you need instead of the full library or the full components. And that's how it looks. So you're just including the components that you need. So another great thing that we have for community is stackblitz.com. So if you want to share something, or share a piece of code, or a progress, or you want to be able to just run it on the browser, you can use StackBlitz. And also, you can get the branch from GitHub. So it is quite funny, because I started the project, and I was doing everything by myself, you know, because, of course, I had loads of fun. But if you don't have that much time, I strongly recommend you to go with this Angular NEGRX material starter. It's a really nice project from Thomas. And as you can see, they have all these functionalities baked into it. So it's pretty interesting to just get everything that you need and start from there. Once again, a recap, just use the neg add, create a specific module. Hammer.js is really important if you want to enable gestures, and keep track of the drag and drop and visual scroll. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about Firebase. And how many of you played with Firebase? Okay, cool. Hopefully the others will play tomorrow. Okay, and Firebase is really interesting. And I've been like, oh my God, it's been a long time. And I just remember that the first time that I heard about Firebase, it was in the Ember.js meetup a long time ago in San Francisco. And they were launching the Ember Fire. And I was like, wow, what is that? And it was like all related to real-time database. And I was like, oh, I really need to try this. And I got back to the office, and I talked with the CTO. And hey, look, so Firebase, they have this real-time database. We don't have to build our own API. It's going to be awesome. Can we use it? No. And I was like, oh, okay. But it was really impressive with everything. And I started to build some examples and sample apps. And that's why I'm sticking with Firebase until today. So it's really important also to think about workflow. And sometimes, as I mentioned before, we don't have time to build the APIs or build the backend that we need. And you can rely on Firebase infrastructure to everything that you need in terms of progressive web apps or even native apps. And to edit the Firebase in our Angular app, we're going to need the Firebase CLI. And if you have any questions, once again, the documentation is really good. But you first install the Firebase CLI, and it's interesting because you need to install Firebase tools, but you're going to use the Firebase CLI. And then you can just log in with your Google account. And after that, you just need to Firebase init, and boom, we have this initialization. You're going to choose what you wanted to do, the project setup, and everything. For example, the project that you're going to use. And I think it's cutting a little bit. Oh, yeah. So what is the public directory? And after that, you're good to go. And inside of your app, you're going to have the Firebase Json and the .firebase RC. So those two files, they are going to be useful for you in terms of Firebase functionalities. So the Firebase JSON, for example, here, I have the hosting functionality in place. And the Firebase RC, I'm just ejecting my project. And with this, we are going to use, once again, energy build. And after Firebase deploy, we're going to have the URL that you're going to see our progressive web app. And how about Firebase and Angular? So to install the Firebase and have the capabilities inside of Angular app, you're going to use Angular Fire. And finally, also, we have the @Angular/Fire. Before, it was Angular Fire 2, and there's loads of things like, oh, are we going to change? Or we are, no, maybe? Yeah, and then finally, we have this @Angular/Fire. And of course, they have the documentation inside of GitHub, but still, the project is Angular Fire 2. It's a little bit confusing, but you know, you're going to be used to it. Okay, and now this is the app, right? And it's funny because when I was creating the presentation, I was doing like some screenshots, and screenshots are really difficult to replace later. And I was like, oh no, but that's fine. And then, so as you can see here, we have like a beautiful login page, right? Using material design, the buttons, and the customization is really simple. And on the right side, you can see the authentication inside of Firebase. And you can see that you have those providers if you want to use. And it's quite extensive what you can do with authentication inside of Firebase. And then the app is loading with this progress bar from mature design. And if you don't have any notes, we have this blank slate. And once again, you can see the users on the right side over there. And I'm logging in with my Gmail account. And then you can create new notes using the integration with Firestore. And Firestore is really interesting because it's all related to collections and documents. And it's really simple as well, too. So that's the moment that you're going to have a title. And you can also use the date picker component. It's really interesting. And then you created your note. So everything that you need is on the right side here. You have all the information, and if you need to add any information, delete any information, it's really simple. And once again, with mature design, you have this beautiful UI. So in terms of like inside of the note, you can see the details, and once again, a blank slate there that's come on. You have things to do, so just add it. And you start to add your to-dos. And then the thing is, it's really interesting what you can do in terms of functionality of your interface with the Firebase. So basically, we are matching this delete document with this delete icon here, delete button here. So when you think about developing a progressive web app with Firebase and using Firestore, you can pretty much use all functionality that we have inside of the dashboard inside with our app. And then changing everything, is everything real time. Remember, it was like, woohoo, my first reaction, real-time database, awesome. And we also have different types. So you can use reference, you can use a map, timestamp, and other things. And then you can build as well, once again. So here we have this field, and we have the reaction inside of our UI. So node has been archived because the button was pressed, and it's really simple to connect, and is also offline support. And then the share with friends functionality is really interesting that you can use and you can create in a simple way. You can share via email, and then you can share via push notifications using Firebase as well. So when you click on that button, you have the invite someone now, and you're going to have the option to include the email and share with that person. As you can see here, it's like just an array, and I have the information of that specific user with the email, if it's on it or not, and the photo URL just to show that. And after you invite someone, it's going to appear down here, and you can see the email as well if you want to send a message or something. And in terms of security, we have the Firebase Rules. In this case, the Firestore Rules. And yeah, it looks a little bit complicated at the first glimpse, but it's not that much. So you have some functions that you're going to, OK, so I have to validate my node. So to validate my node, the title must be string, the size must be greater than 0, and the owner must be the authenticated user. So this is pretty much what I'm doing with this isNodeValid. And you can create other functions to use as blocking your interface. So if the user is not the the authenticated. If the user is not authenticated, you can redirect to the login, or you can also check if the owner of the node is doing a specific task. In this case, for example, only the owner can delete the node. So you can also track this with the rules here. A little bit of resource, so you can check this later. And finally, we have the Google Maps platform. And with the Google Maps platform, we can do loads of things related to geolocation. And it's pretty interesting because most of the apps that we can use nowadays, we have a sense of location, so we can share real-time location with our friends, with our families, so we can share our location inside of Google Maps as well. We have tons of functionalities, and it's really interesting that we have a range of different functionalities that we can use in our apps. So in terms of web apps, we have the navigator.geolocation. So with this API, we can get the current location, watch position, and other things. And it's really, really simple with this get current position, the implementation. You can pass some options, and you're going to get the current location. And once again, I'm using localhost because if I want to use a specific custom host name, I do need to set up SSL locally. And I didn't want to do it. I was too lazy. OK, so when you implement the get current location, get current position, sorry, you're going to see this pop-up saying that, hey, I want to know your location. And of course, you can have error handlers if the user blocks the app. So you can show like a pop-up or redirect to our URL, say, hey, we definitely need your location. So we're going to show you a map, or we're going to show your current city and this kind of stuff. But to be able to use the Google Maps platform, you first need to enable the products that you need. In this case, I'm just using the maps, but you can use routes and places. And you select the project that you want. You set up your billing. Yeah, you're going to need to add a credit card. And after that, you're good to go. And with this in place, you're going to have your API key. Okay? But if you are considering to open the application for external users, definitely remember to restrict your API key with applications restrictions or API restrictions to be more secure in terms of who is using your API key. And as you can see on the top here, we have our current location, and also the browser identifies that this specific tab is using your location. So you can do loads of things with this integration of the geolocation and Google Maps. And here, for example, we can get the city, state, country, and also the ISO code. And if you want to, in any time, create something like this slide, you can use a Carbon. It's just a presentation tip. Maybe you can use in the local meetups and something like that. It's really nice, and just paste the code there, and you're going to change the template and everything, and it will look beautiful, even if your code is not that beautiful. OK, and then after that, you're going to store the current city inside of Firestore. And in this case, I'm storing directly into the user document. So we have some information here, like photo URL, some tokens to be able to receive push notifications, and you can store other informations. And then, if you are thinking about Google Maps and Angular, to display Google Maps inside of an Angular app, I truly recommend angularmaps.com. So check this out later, and it's really simple as well to set up. So if you are using Firestore, you can use the geopoint type. And the geopoint type, it's going to be much easier for geolocation queries. And so, for example, we can have the locations of the nodes, and we can display on the map, and we can query based on the current location. And it's really, really interesting. So now we can have a location-based nodes app. And it's really exciting because I'm seeing this app growing and growing, and it's really interesting to just play around and be able to also answer some questions and give some suggestions related to what I'm working on. So if you are going to play with GeoFire, if you are going to play with GeoPoint, you have this option, the GeoFire store from Michael. It's a really nice library that you can use. And also the GeoFire X. So this GeoFire X is a really nice project from Jeff, the geolocation queries with Firestore and RxJS. So it's a little bit more robust. And also you can check later on this YouTube video from the Angular Firebase channel. It's a great channel if you want to know more about Angular, Firebase, Ionic, and other cool stuff. And recently, I just discovered this Algolia Places, and they have some great functionalities there. So, for example, here I was just trying, and I didn't know that we have like Nantes in São Paulo, but apparently we do have. And coming up, I'm going to play a little bit more with this Algolia Places and maybe create a different branch testing with this functionality as well. So in terms of Google Maps platform, you can do lots of options. You can have a lot of options. You can control the zoom level. You can control the color. You can control a lot of things. And in this case here, I just started to create this geolocation thing. So now we are going to have this map mode that you can enable inside of the fire list. And then you're going to see the map with your nodes, and you're going to click on it, and then you're going to be able to move to the to-dos and go back. So it's really also interesting, and maybe I can implement other things a little bit more advanced later, but I think it's a really great start to have this in place, and considering that I'm adding more functionalities and be able to share with you guys. So I definitely recommend you also to check the Firebase YouTube channel. They have different things there, really funny things sometimes. And the Firebase Summit is coming up, so they are still sending an invitation. So if you want to go to the website, and it's going to be in Prague, and it's going to be loads of crazy stuff there, and you're going to learn with the Firebase team. So I definitely recommend if you have the time to go there. So just check this URL. Also, we have a alpha program it's designed to shape the Firebase features. So if you really want to try Firebase and if you like it, just join, and you're going to receive the new functionalities on an ongoing basis. And if you want to learn a little bit more, even if it's not related to web, they do have loads of code labs that you can learn, including cloud functions, push notifications, and much more. So I really like this quote, and from Addy. So first do it, then do it right, then do it better. And I think when we are growing in any areas of our lives, we need to think about it and iterate. It's just not related to a specific project that you are doing, but I would say that this is for your life. So if you just failed, just do it again and try it again and try harder. And one last message is just be happy, go outside, enjoy your moments with your friends, coworkers, and when you wake up every morning, you have this opportunity to choose to be positive or to be sad. And for me, I always choose to be happy. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope to see you next time.